classified, not say how sensitive the information was or whether it was classified at the time. Now, this is very important because many times at the time of a particular situation, it is not the case. Now, from the Washington Post, basically the same story here. The letter was sent to the Judiciary Committee. The letter is intended to supplement testimony to ensure that the committee has the full content of what was reviewed and found on the laptop. That is from the Assistant FBI Director, James A. Bohr. In defending the probe last week, Comey offered seemingly new details to underscore the seriousness of the situation FBI agents faced last fall when they discovered thousands of emails there. Somehow her emails were being forwarded, and this has been disputed now and it was incorrect. At some point in the testimony, Comey said Aberdeen forwarded hundreds and thousands of emails, some of which contained classified information. Now, this would be a very interesting point because you remember when Comey made his surprise announcement just before the election last fall, 2016, saying basically the same thing about these emails. And then, of course, he came back just a few days before and clarified that nothing had happened. But now it is widely held, particularly by Democrats, that Comey's letter had caused damage to the Clinton campaign. So this is all up in the air right now. And now we also have a chain of firings. I was preparing a program on the Environmental Protection Agency, which was created by none other than Tricky Dick Nixon in 1970. But a man named Ruckelshaus, who was still alive, was appointed to head it. He was 38 years old at the time. Now, the significance of this is that Ruckelshaus later was in the Saturday Night Massacre. That's when the special prosecutor on Watergate, an affair called Watergate, which led to Tricky Dick leaving town early, it was fired, and Ruckelshaus eventually went with him. So it was a succession of people that left. Now, is this situation will be under further scrutiny. Now, the letter also corrected the impression Comey testimony had left with some listeners that the 12 classified emails among those forwarded by Aberdeen. Investigators identified approximately 49,000 emails that were potentially relevant to the investigation. The letter said all were reviewed with a particular focus on those containing classified information. They ultimately determined that 2 emails that contained classified information were manually forwarded to Vina's account. 10 other emails claimed to contain classified information were found on the laptop as a result of backup activity. The letter clarified some of the figures he gave out there, and we'll go to ProPublica in a minute to get the relevant information. At the beginning of Aberdeen's email, statements about it were immediately seized upon by Ted Cruz, known to DJ Trump as Lying Ted Cruz, who demanded to know why Aberdeen wasn't charged with a crime. Comey said it was difficult finding evidence of those involved in Clinton's use of private email knowingly engaged in wrongdoing. Comey's incorrect comments about Aberdeen surfaced again this week at a different hearing. Now, this was one when Cruz pressed General Clapper. He was the former director of national intelligence, to say he would have handled an employee who forwarded hundreds or even thousands of emails to non-governmental individuals, their spouse on a non-government computer. Clapper said such conduct raised all kinds of potential security concerns. It would if it actually occurred. Now, Comey's decision, this is a chronological order here, came under substantial criticism from Democrats, including Clinton, who was a major factor contributed to her presidential defeat in November to DJ Trump. On the 28th, less than 2 weeks before the election, director notified Congress that the new related emails had been found on a laptop belonging to Anthony Vina. Days later, the investigators obtained a search warrant to examine 3,000 messages on a device that were work-related. Of those, Comey said the agents found a dozen that contained, and this is the point had to be clarified. Comments came about the Clinton case has been a source of public debate since the first announcement in July. And that was when Comey came back and said that no charges were to be filed against Clinton. At the time, he called the use of the server extremely careless, but it did not raise the level of a criminal case. Was correct about that. A year ago, while speaking at a security forum in London, the director miscalculated the price the FBI had paid for a technology crack into a locked iPhone that was belonging to the people out in San Bernardino, California. At the event, he said the cost of the phone hacking tool was more than I make in the remainder of the job, which is 7 years and 4 months for sure. Based on Comey's salary, it would implicate that strongly that the cost would be $1.3 million to get the phone cracked there. And the FBI paid, well, it wasn't all by much. They paid $900,000 for the cracking. Now let's go to the pro publica testimony on Huma, Abedin forwarding was incorrect. This is Dateline, the 8th of May. The director generated national headlines last week with his dramatic testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee, explaining that his incredibly painful decision to go public about Hillary Clinton's emails found on Anthony Vina's laptop. Perhaps Comey's most surprising revelation was that Huma Abedin, that was Vina's wife, a top aide, made a regular practice of forwarding hundreds and thousands of Clinton emails to her husband, some of which contained classified information. Comey testified that Abedin had done this so that the disgraced former congressman could print them out for her boss. Vina's laptop was seized after he came under investigation. Now this was showing pictures of himself. The New York Post, that is owned by Rupert Murdoch, posted its story on the front page. Hard copy. Uma sent Vina classified Clinton emails, the Daily News and other tabloid in New York, with a similar screaming headline. Uma aired sent classified information to maniac Vina. The problem, much of what Comey said about it was incorrect. Now the FBI is trying to figure out what to do about it. Officials have privately acknowledged that Comey misstated what Abedin did and what FBI investigators found. On Monday, the FBI said it to be preparing to correct the record that has been done now, sending a letter to Congress later this week, but that plan is apparently on hold with the Bureau undecided what to do. Publica is reporting a story of the FBI's handling of the Clinton emails and raises questions with government officials last week about possible inaccuracies of Comey's statements about Abedin. It could not learn how the mistake occurred. The FBI and Abedin declined requests from Publica. Anyway, according to two sources familiar, now this is what came out the other day that spoke on anonymity. That's increasingly the way that these characters come out because they quote-unquote are not authorized to speak, but they are leaking, in other words. Abedin forwarded only a handful of emails to her husband for printing, not the hundreds or thousands cited by Comey. It does not appear Abedin made a regular practice of doing so. Other officials said it was likely that most of the emails got onto the computer as a result of backups of her BlackBerry. She had a BlackBerry. I thought she had an iPhone. Anyway, it's not clear how many of any of these forwarded emails were amongst the 12 classified emails Comey said that had been found on Vina's laptop. None of the messages carried classified markings at the time they were sent. Now, this is very important. None carried classified markings at the time they were sent. It was given to the public that they were. Comey's testimony about Aberdeen came as he offered his first public explanation of his decision to reveal the extent of the emails. That was on October the 28th, days ahead of the 2016 election, before the agency, the FBI, had even examined them. When agents obtained a search warrant that allowed them to read the emails, they turned out to be mostly duplicates of emails the Bureau had obtained earlier in the investigation. Comey announced days before the election that nothing had changed in the Clinton case, which had been closed 4 months ago without criminal charges. But the problem is most people get the first announcement, not the second. During his testimony, Comey said that part of the reason for revealing the existence of the messages was that some appeared to fill an 8-week gap in records earlier in the Clinton tenure as a Secretary of State. Comey said the FBI viewed them as as golden missing emails that would change this case because they might prove insight into Clinton's intent when she set up her private email server. Comey's testimony that investigators were searching the laptop in days before the election also found that somehow her emails were being forwarded to Anthony Vina, including classified information by Clinton's assistant, Uma Aberdeen. Aberdeen, he said, he later testified, appeared to have a regular process. We went over this before. After Comey painted his troubling picture, this is where Ted Line Cruz came and demanded to know why Aberdeen and Vina had not been charged with mishandling classified information, and the failure to do so puzzling. You say Miss Aberdeen forwarded hundreds of thousands of emails to her husband on a non-governmental, non-classified computer. Cruz has said, how is this? Does this conduct not directly violate the statute? Comey offered a partial clarification, saying telling the Texas senator, if I say that I misspoke. She forwarded hundreds of thousands of emails, some of which contained classified information. Comey agreed that both Aberdeen and Vina potentially might have committed a crime, but said that the FBI found no basis for concluding that either had acted with a criminal intent. And this is a very important thing, criminal intent. You can forward something classified. If you don't have criminal intent, there's no case. Aberdeen's lawyer issued a statement on the 28th saying that Aberdeen had no idea how the exchange with Clinton got on Vina's laptop and no idea where they were. Now, this is the ongoing story there, and we look back at the Post as we wind down our report here, our special report on the firing of James Comey. Now, it is a developing story according to the Post, and we went to the Post because it is the Washington go-to paper, and this is an update as of 6:23. It's now 6:44. Has been dismissed by the president. Was fired as Comey was fired as he is leading a counterintelligence investigation to determine whether associates of President Trump. Now, this is where it sounds really bad. Had been coordinating with Russia to meddle in the presidential election. The probe began quietly last July, but has now become a subject of intense Washington debate. Officials said Comey was fired because senior Justice Department officials concluded he had violated Justice Department principles and procedures by publicly discussing the investigation of Clinton's use of private email. Just last week, President Trump accused Comey of giving Clinton a free pass for many bad deeds when he decided not to recommend criminal charges. Officials released a memo from Deputy Attorney General Ross Rosenstein, laying out the rationale behind Comey's dismissal. We finally get this. The FBI's reputation and credibility has suffered substantial damage, and it has affected the entire department, Rosenstein said. I cannot defend the director's handling of the conclusion investigation of Secretary Clinton's email, and I do not understand his refusal to accept the nearly universal judgment he was mistaken. Almost everyone agrees that the director made a serious mistake and is one of few issues that unite people of diverse perspectives. In a letter to DJ Trump, the Attorney General Beauregard Sessions agrees. I've concluded that a fresh start is needed in the leadership of the FBI, Beauregard said, and I recommend you remove the director, James B. Comey Jr., and identify an experienced and qualified individual to lead the FBI. Shortly before the announcement, the FBI notified Congress by letter that Comey had misstated key findings involving the Clinton investigation. The letter was sent to the Judiciary Committee on Tuesday, more than a week after Comey testified for hours. The letter is intended to supplement that testimony. That's from the Assistant Attorney General Blower. In defending the probe at last week, we won't go over that because we already went over it. Tuesday's letter said most of the emails found on Vina's laptop related to the Clinton investigation occurred result as a backup. Normally what happens, she used a BlackBerry. We tend to, from our mobile device, back things up onto a workstation. Not unusual there that you will get those things. Not necessarily emails, but photographs in our case. The letter also clarified some of Comey's figures given, and we already read the ProPublica announcement there. And you're going to get some redundancies in this, in the reporting, and the reason obviously for that is that when you have this type of investigation going on, and news coming very, very quickly as it is coming here, the new beginning from Politico. Now, where are we today? Well, we're up in the air. We have a major investigation of a foreign nation's involvement in an American political election. Now, from the White House, you have the mouthpiece, Spicer, the known racist, questioning Yates. Yates was the acting attorney general fired by DJ Trump. Had partisan motivations. Now, this whole thing is getting out of hand, period. Time for Trump to testify on Russia. This is one of the things. You're going to have more and more coming out on this. It had been our opinion that the whole Russian involvement thing, unless you find a smoking gun, there was nothing there. In other words, the director, Admiral Clapper, testified he had not seen anything that tied up Trump and his cronies with the Russian government as of yet. But the problem is his whole scenario, at least with Director Comey, has been called under question. Not only Director Comey, but the entire FBI. Now, this in itself causes very severe problems with the whole credibility of the FBI. And of course, as far as the credibility of the Trump administration, it's zero. Trump can yell on his Twitter accounts 24/7 that it's fake news. It's not fake news. The firing of Director Comey is not fake. It actually took place. It's sort of like touching a brick wall, and you touch it and you know it's there. You can't claim that you walked through the wall. Now, you have all kinds of strange situations out here. Let me just get one more thing here. This Conway character, there was a skit, I think on Saturday Night Live, where what happened to Conway, and I guess the only thing she had to say was White House social, well, forget that one. Anyway, this Kellyanne Conway character has everyone accept the election results. Well, the problem is now, this whole election result thing with the firing of Comey has been thrown into a centrifuge, I guess you could call it. And when you get this kind of thing going on, people that believe the election was rigged, that was DJ Trump's original words, but now was the election rigged by Comey. And why? So now DJ Trump fires Comey to basically subliminally tell the public, I wasn't involved in it, Comey did it all. But now some people will say, well, Comey was just a fall man. And this whole regime, including Beauregard, Sessions himself. And this is part of the problem. See, in Watergate, we did not have social media. There was no social media out here. But now we have social media, and social media is out here, and it exposes the whole ship of rats that are trying to fall over. And it's on steroids. This story will continue to develop, no doubt about it. This is Boston Red on the 9th of May 2017, live here on many of these networks as we move along here, and we will continue to report on this. Tonight's episode, unless we change it, will be the EPA, we think. Perhaps we will go more on this. We're not certain at this point in time as to where we go, and this is one of the problems with political breaking events. We hope to hear from the outstanding news person, Dan Ravi, and his community of resistance out there. We partner with those people, with Professor Reich out there, and many, many others that write on this, and Mary out of Montana, that continually keep information flowing out of D.C. Haley there. So we'll see where all of this goes. Good afternoon.